Good morning, boys and girls. Happy Wednesday. We are halfway through the week. So let's go ahead and go to the daily assignments. We have a couple things going on today. Let me make it a little bit bigger so that you all can see. Perfect. Okay. So the first thing that I was saying when I was typing this, or I guess thinking when I was typing this, was holy moly, we have so many lasts today. Your last Zoom session with Mr. Kirby, your last afternoon small group with me, your last book club, your last chapter of Sideways Stories. Holy moly. Thank goodness it's not the last Wednesday of the year, or I might shed a tear. So I have one more week to go before that happens. All right, so moving on. For reading, it's our last chapter, as I just said. So today you're going to read chapter 30 and then complete your book club role. Okay, it's your last book club. I want you to do the very best job that you can, give the very best compliment that you can at the end. Okay, so put a smile on your face for doing really well, put a smile on my face for being so proud of you, and put a smile on someone else's face for complimenting them for the hard work that they put forth in your group. Okay. For writing today, you are going to use your research from your landmark that you chose, and you are going to write an informational paragraph. Now, I know that you don't have too much research, but that's okay. You can still write this informational paragraph. You need to make sure that you include everything that we always include in our paragraph. So a topic sentence, your 3 details, and a closing sentence. And I just wanted to say, friends, whenever I give you the opportunity to give a Hawk Talk, you are always so full of energy. You have these hooks that grab everyone's attention and engage them. You share a topic sentence. Everyone knows what it is that you are talking about. But whenever we get to your writing, you forget those things. So I want you to think in your head, if I was giving a Hawk Talk on this right now, what would I say? And whatever comes out, I want you to write down on that paper, okay? Now, the good news about this is that you actually are going to be giving a Hawk Talk tomorrow. So write the most informative, engaging, attention-grabbing, exciting paragraph that you can about your landmark, and then you can give your Hawk Talk on Seesaw tomorrow, okay? There are 3 examples here from past students, so you can go ahead and take a look at those. Now, if you are one of these landmarks, I want you to make sure that you have your writing in your own words and that it is coming from you and not from one of these, but you already knew that. In math today, you are taking your Unit 11 test. It is digital, so you are just going to click right here. Since it is digital, are you going to be just filling out A, B, C, or D and moving on without showing your work? Of course not. Okay, you need to use this piece of scratch paper when you are taking your test. Okay, please go through these carefully. You all know this. Okay, so show me your best work. Science, Mystery Science Lesson 5. So you're going to watch the video, and then today the hands-on activity is a magnetic version of a lock. So Doug explains this really well in the video. What you're going to be doing is getting a piece of paper and cutting out a little door, okay? And what your job is going to be is to try and figure out how to use the ring magnet that you have and create some kind of lock that you can open using the magnet. So watch the video, watch all examples that he gives you. Now, the one material that it does ask you to use is a brad. I don't have an example of a brad right here, but a brad is one of those little tools that we have that if you were, when you were making your skeleton project, your skeleton STEM project in the beginning of the year, and you wanted your skeleton's legs and arms to move back and forth, you would stick your brad in and clip it on and it allowed movement, okay? So that's what that is. You don't have one. So can you think of something to replace that material? Okay, or maybe you can just make a lock that doesn't involve a brad. You'll have Mr. Curry's Zoom session, and then there's your art project. Don't forget that we have small groups today as well. So Wednesdays are our nice busy days. So I'm gonna stop the share. We are going to get going on our reading because we're just in the middle of such a good chapter. We've been reading the same chapter for a few days now. So we just ended with BFG and Sophie being absolutely horrified because the huge, scary giant woke up and is now grabbing one of the soldiers. Okay. Sophie says, quick, do something before he eats them. Put that human being down, the BFG shouted. The flesh lump eater turned and stared at the BFG. What is you doing here with all these rotty twiglets, he bellowed. You is making me very suspicious. The BFG made a rush at the flesh lump eater, but the colossal 50-foot-high giant simply knocked him over with a flick of his free arm. At the same time, Sophie fell off the BFG's palm onto the ground. Her mind was racing. She must do something. She must. She remembered the sapphire brooch the queen had pinned onto her chest. Quickly, she undid it. So a brooch is the little pin that some women use as decoration on their outfit, and a lot of time it has like little jewels on it, and you pin it onto your shirt. I is guzzling you nice and slow, the flesh lump eater was saying to the soldier in his hands. Then I is guzzling 10 or 20 more of you midgy little maggots down there. You is not getting away from me because I is galloping 50 times faster than you. Sophie ran up behind the flesh lump eater. She was holding the brooch between her fingers. When she was right up close to the great naked hairy leg, she rammed the 3-inch long pin of the brooch as hard as she could into the flesh lump eater's right ankle. It went deep into the flesh and stayed there. The giant gave a roar of pain and jumped high in the air. He dropped the soldier and made a grab for his ankle. The BFG, knowing what a coward the flesh lump eater was, saw a chance. You was bitten by a snake, he shouted. I seed it biting you. It was a frightsome, poisonous viper. It was dreadly dangerous. Vin screamed viper. Save your souls, bellowed the flesh lump eater. Sound the crumpets. I was bitten by a septitious venomsome Vin screen viper. He flopped to the ground and sat there, howling his head off and clutching his ankle with both hands. His fingers felt the brooch. The teeth of the dreadly viper is still sticking into me, he yelled. I was feeling the teeth sticking into my anklet. The BFG saw his second chance. You must be getting those viper's teeth out at once, he cried. Otherwise, you was deader than duck soup. I is helping you. The BFG knelt down beside the flesh lump eater. You must grab your anklet very tight with both hands, he ordered. That will stop the poison juices from the venomsome viper going up your leg and into your heart. The flesh lump eater grabbed his ankle with both hands. Now close your eyes and grittle your teeth and look up to heaven and say your prayers while I was taking the teeth of the viper out of you, the BFG said. The terrified flesh lump eater did exactly as he was told. The BFG signaled the rope. A soldier rushed it over to him. With both the flesh lump eater's hands gripping his ankle, it was a simple matter for the BFG to tie the ankles and hands together with a tight knots. I is pulling out the frightsome viper's teeth, the BFG said as he quickly pulled on the knot. Do it quickly, shouted the flesh lump eater, before he is poisoned to death. There he is, said the BFG, standing up. You can look now. When the flesh lump eater saw that he was trussed up like a turkey, he gave a yell so loud that the heavens trembled. He rolled and he wriggled, he fought and he figgled, he squirmed and he squiggled, but there was nothing he could do. Well done, you, Sophie cried. Well done, you, said the BFG, smiling down at the little girl. You was saving all our lives. Will you please get that brooch back for me, Sophie said. It belongs to the queen. The BFG pulled the beautiful brooch out of the flesh lump eater's ankle. The flesh lump eater howled. The BFG wiped the pin and handed it back to Sophie. Curiously, not one of the other 8 snoring giants had woken up during the schmozzle. You guys know how our classroom is. If I don't get up for a while, I'll turn and start. So we'll just leave it like this. When he was only sleeping 1 or 2 hours a day, he was sleeping extra doubly deep, the BFG explained. The heads of the Army and Air Force drove forward once again in their Jeep. Her Majesty will be very pleased with me, the head of Army said. I shall probably get a medal. What's the next move? Now you was all driving over to my cage to load up my bottle of dreams, the BFG said. We can't waste time with that rubbish, the Army general said. It's the Queen's order, Sophie said. She was now back on the BFG's hands. So the 9 jeeps drove across to the BFG's cave, and the great dream loading operation began. There were 50,000 jars in all to be loaded up, more than 5,000 of each jeep, and it took over an hour to finish the job. While the soldiers were loading the dreams, the BFG and Sophie disappeared over the mountains on a mysterious errand. When they came back, the BFG had a sack the size of a small house slung over his shoulder. "What's that you got in there?" the head of the army demanded to know. "Curiosity is killing the rat," the BFG said, and turned away from the silly man. When he was sure that all his precious dreams had been safely loaded onto the jeeps, the BFG said, now he is driving back to the belly poppers and picking up the frightsome giants. The jeeps drove back to the helicopters. The 50,000 dreams were carried carefully onto the helicopters. The soldiers climbed back on board, but the BFG and Sophie stayed on the ground. Then they all returned to where the 9 giants were lying. It was a fine sight to see them, these great air machines, hovering over the trussed-up giants. It was an even finer sight to see the giants being awoken by the terrific thundering of the engines overhead. And the finest sight of all was to observe those 9 hideous brutes squirming and twisting about on the ground like a mass of mighty snakes as they tried to free themselves from the ropes and chains. "I is flush-bunkled, I is spitz-wiggled, I is gun-swippled, I is slaw-grobbled, I is crock-swindled, I is bop-muckered." Those were all the giants yelling. The 9 giant-carrying helicopters each chose a separate giant and hovered directly over them. Very strong steel hawsers with hooks on the end of them were lowered from the front and rear of each helicopter. The BFG quickly secured the hooks to the giants' chains, one hook near the legs and the other near the arms. Then very slowly, the giants were winched up into the air parallel with the ground. The giants roared and bellowed, but there was nothing they could do. The BFG, with Sophie once more resting comfortably in his ears, set off at a gallop for England. The helicopters all banked around and followed after him. It was an amazing spectacle. Those 9 helicopters winging through the sky, each with a trussed-up 50-foot-long giant slung underneath it. The giants themselves must have found it an interesting experience. They never stopped bellowing, but their howls were drowned by the noise of the engines. When it began to get dark, the helicopters switched on powerful searchlights and trained them on to the galloping giant so as to see him in sight. They flew right through the night and arrived in England just as the dawn was breaking. So that is that chapter, and I believe that we are actually on the last. So we'll be able to finish that up hopefully this week, if not next week. Okay, everyone, I'm looking forward to seeing you at office hours at 10 o'clock this morning. Have a good start to your day.